Well, what are we doing? We're trying our hand at dowsing. Alice, I know you're lonely. Oh yeah, you want to hang out with us, huh? Anyway, at the off-grid cabin here, by the way, welcome once again. One of the things we need to figure out is a water source. There is a spring in town that we can get some water from, but we want our own water supply. We're going to do rainwater collection no matter what, but we were told that there's a natural spring, and we have no idea where it is on these 11 acres, and there's a shitload of shit over all the ground from previous logging, so it's hard to walk evenly and thus douse well. But what she noticed was this little footpath here, and there's no real reason for it with all this other junk everywhere, so it's possible that this was a footpath to the spring. So these are dowsing rods I made. You don't have to be fancy or special with them. You could use sticks or whatever. There's a bunch of different methods people use. But I just used some bent coat hanger and a piece of 1/4-inch steel tubing so they pivot on their own and your hand won't influence them. And I've never done this before, so we'll see how it goes. We'll walk down the path and see what happens. So we might have found something. We followed that trail. There you go, they moved.
Right? This is where I was before.
Yep.
They crossed.
Yeah, so you did that, what, twice before? Before you told me?
It's the third time.
And I just tried it.
It's the same exact spot right here.
And I just tried it once myself, and they didn't cross, but they went apart from each other, like so, right about in the same area. And right as she told me that, I was looking. I was using a different technique than her. She was just walking with them ahead of her the whole time, and what I was doing, I was just observing things and trying to find a good, just some clues, ground or trees or whatever. Apparently poplar trees grow a lot around springs. So what I saw, this is where that little footpath. Oh, squirrel! Wow, look at that. Wow, let's take that back. That's cool.
It's a nice one.
I like that little hole that's in it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll put that in the cabin. But anyway, when you kicked that, I thought you were gonna, like, oh look, there's water gushing out of the ground here.
That'd be cool.
But anyway, this is where the footpath ends, and it just goes into just logging garbage, and there is kind of like a logging path over there. But what I was looking at was this depression here. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is the hole, and here is a high spot. And also further, like over there, there's a low spot right there, and then in front of it and behind it there's a high spot. So this is kind of undulating terrain, and you know, part of it could have been due to, you know, skidders and stuff from the logging just screwing up the ground, but this just doesn't look like something a skidder would make. They would make obviously 2 parallel tracks in the ground, and even where there are sort of more obvious logging trails, the ground is actually kind of untouched. There's just branches and brush everywhere. And the last thing we were told by the realtor, who was pretty familiar with this property, is that the spring was filled in years ago. Why you would do that is beyond me, but it was. So we're going to do some stomping around here and report back. Alright, so she did it, and I'll show you that we're not full of shit. Like I said, this is the first time we've done this. But here we go. Again, we picked up some leaves, and it's wet here. Of course, we just had a bunch of snow melt, but it is wet, and it's also a depression. But we had our wires cross in a direct line right here, and I tried it in a few spots, so I'll do it on camera, and you guys can see. Right, like that.
Right in that same spot.
Exact same spot. And, they say, stuff like this, it's like Ouija boards, like your minor, like, little movements of your hands influence things. But, when the camera woman first had her rods cross, I don't think you were thinking, oh, I think there's water
No.
here. You were just walking.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I was looking at it, I was thinking, I think there might be something going on. So a preconceived notions is another thing that can affect your results with stuff like this.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any preconceived notions. I sort of did. But you're holding them straight and you're walking even over uneven terrain, and they're staying straight, and you get to a spot and they cross. So the land does gradually slope down this way, and like I said, we had the lines or the rods cross a few times here, so we're going to keep going in the direction that this underground stream or spring, whatever, seems to be going, and see what happens. And we should have brought a shovel, but we'll go back up and get a shovel and see what it looks like underneath the leaves. Well, we're getting a little bit distracted by some very cool geology. That's some neat sedimentary rocks. That one's pretty cool. Very nice piece of quartz. So this is the main logging road that partly serves as the first half of our driveway. This is beyond the part that we drive on. This just goes through the rest of our property. And you can see there's quite a bit of runoff, but the part of the driveway we drive through does not have this much flowing water. Ooh, look at that one. Check that out. That is cool. So we're going to follow this back up. We were at the very end of the property. There was a wet spot even when there was snow on the ground. So we're going to check that out, but I want to check the source of this water out first.
Shovel.
So as we were walking up, I was noticing way up there, the road's not wet at all. Then it starts getting wetter and wetter. And I'm thinking the flow here is not equal to the flow way back there, so it's got to be getting water from somewhere. And these leaves are all wet, so I walked closer to investigate and see if you can hear it. So
Look at.
yeah, let's see if I can. Wet here. Now this is apparently a bad time to look for springs because in springtime you have snow melt, so a place that normally wouldn't be wet could be wet. So this may be a seep, not a spring.
I don't know if they can see it. There's a reflection. Try and shade it. You can see the sky.
Does that work?
Yeah.
We'll mess around more, and in a few minutes this will clear up. Take another shot.
You can see the flow.
Yeah, I can see the little hole in the ground right there.
Huh. Yeah. It's gurgling.
So this may be a seep, not a spring.
There it just came again.
Yeah, I saw a little burble there. And this is actually kind of an inconvenient location because it's right on the logging road.
I think we should dig a little more.
Yeah, we'll have to go up and get a shovel. We'll keep looking, go up the road some more, and then go out back. But this is interesting. We'll have to come back and investigate this further. All right. Well, we're at the back end of the property where we saw water when there was still snow on the ground. There definitely is flow, and listen. Hear that? And I stirred this up just a minute ago, and it was all muddy, and it's clear already. And let's see, I'll shadow it. There's flow, definitely flow going on, and there's rock there. And as I understand, I believe, springs typically come through rock. You know, broken up rock, whether it's fractured shale or sand or gravel. Seeps come through dirt. Seeps are just kind of shallow groundwater. You know, say there's a depression, water goes in, and there's channels, natural channels through the dirt for a variety of reasons, and the water comes through and pops out somewhere. And that's a seasonal thing. It's not very clean or pure water. But a spring water, actual spring water, is much further down the strata, and then for a variety of geological reasons, it's pressurized and comes up out of the ground through a fracture in the rock or what have you. So this is fairly promising, I think. Another reason oh wow, look at that right there. See, it's burbling out. Burbling out. I think that might be a spring. The other thing, the property gently slopes way up towards the cabin. So part of the reason I'm not crazy about this area potentially is because any shit and runoff and everything is gonna pool here. And if this is like more groundwatery, like a seep, yeah, it may be kind of filtered through there, but I don't know. But this is definitely another potential. And this just cleared up some more, and she dug some more out. I gotta get in a position where I can shade. Just look at that little gravel and sand, rather, coming up. It's like that to me says spring. Of course, I have zero experience doing this, but there's also a little bit going on there. But you can see it's coming up from the ground, not just... If it was a seep, I think the one up the road may have been a seep because it's coming from a hillside. It's just dirt. There's a little bit of gravel. But this is just coming straight up, and all the gravel and sand is indicative of a spring. But anyway, so this has potential because it has a lot of flow, but it's not great because it's at the very bottom of the slope. I can't quite say a hill, but anyway. Then there's the one on the side of the road that we're going to go up and take another look at it now that it's sat for a while and cleared itself out. And we excavated a couple other little potential spots along the road. And there's also the part in the woods with those strange dips in the ground. My guess is that, I mean, that little footpath was from somebody, you know, walking from the cabin to the spring with a, you know, a bucket or something. And real old school, they probably just dug a hole in the ground where they figured there was water. And it just filled up and the excess just went wherever. So we'll keep an eye on this. And we'll do some digging on those strange divots in the ground up there in the woods at the end of that footpath. And take a look at the one up the road.